Hello dear students, let's start the new topic, water of crystallization. This topic from chapter 8, water of class 8 in subject chemistry. So let's start this topic, water of crystallization. Let's open your chemistry book and come on the page number 114. 114. So the first topic, the water of crystallization. So first, what is the hydrated salt? What is the hydrated salt? The salt which crystallize from their solution in water take up water molecules that are loosely attached to it as a part of their crystal are known as hydrated salt. So what is the hydrated salt? If the salt having the water in the form of crystal that loosely attached water in the form of crystal, that salt is called the hydrated salt. Now, the molecules of water which combine chemically with a molecule of the salt in its crystal are known as water of crystallization, or in the simple way, if the water exists in the form of crystal, that water is called the water of crystallization. Generally, water of crystallization exists in the hydrated salt. So, in the hydrated salt, water of crystallization present, and the hydrated water of crystallization combined, chemically combined with the salt and form the hydrated salt. Next, as for example, hydrated copper sulfate. In the hydrated copper sulfate, the formula of the hydrated copper sulfate is CuSO4.5H2O. It means that 5 molecule of the water present in the hydrated copper sulfate as a form of crystal. 5 water molecule in the form of crystal in the hydrated copper sulfates. Now, some hydrated salt and their chemical formula. Let's see some hydrated salt and their chemical formula. This iron sulfate, FeSO4.7H2O. So, fixed amount of the H2O molecules exist in the hydrated salts. In case of iron sulfate, 7H2O, magnesium sulfate, MgSO4.7H2O, sodium carbonate, Na2CO3.10H2O, zinc sulfate SO4.7H2O, sodium sulfate decahydrate, Na2SO4.10H2O. So these all are the example of the hydrated salts and their chemical formula. Next, so hydrated salts tend to lose water on heating, and the residue left is called the anhydrated salts. So whenever we heat the hydrated salt, then hydrated salt lost their water in the form of vapor, and the salt remain in the container or in the china disk, and that salt is called the anhydrous salt. That salt is called the anhydrous salt because they lost their water. They lost their water of crystallization. So that is, then the water of crystallization is removed from the hydrated salt. The salt that remain is said to be anhydrous salt. So water of crystallization lost from the water or removed from the hydrated salt, and the remain salt is called the anhydrous salts because they do not have the water of crystallization or water. Now, next topic, the hygroscopic substance. So what is the hygroscopic substance? Let's see. This is the first. What is the hygroscopy? The phenomena of attracting and holding water molecule from the surrounding, usually at normal or room temperature, is known as the hygroscopy. So what is the hygroscopy? It is a type of phenomena. It is a phenomena by which the molecules, the water molecules attracted or holding from the surrounding, that phenomena is called the hygroscopy. So in this phenomena, any molecules of the substance absorb or attract or hold the water molecule from the surrounding. at the room temperature. This phenomena is called the hygroscopy. And the substance which exhibit this property to attract the water from the surroundings, that substance is called the hygroscopic substance. Now, the ionic nature of a substance make it easy to attract water molecule into it, but the covalent nature is reluctant to attract the water molecule. But the ionic nature of a substance make it easier to attract the water molecule from the surrounding into its structure. As for example, the calcium chloride is an ionic substance. That calcium chloride attract the water molecules, so it is called the hygroscopic substances. That is, it absorbs moisture from its surrounding, hence it can be used as desiccant. Desiccant means a substance that absorbs moisture. So calcium chloride absorbs the moisture from the surrounding, so it is called a desiccant. Desiccant, it is called a desiccant because they absorb the moisture from the surrounding. Now some science buds. The color of some hydrated salt changes when they are heated to form the respective anhydrous salts. So when a hydrated salt is heated, then the color of the hydrated salt changes. The color changes. Whenever heated, the hydrated salt, the color of the hydrated salt becomes changes and it becomes the anhydrous. So these anhydrous salts again regain their color on adding of water. So it is a reversible process. During the heating, the hydrated salt lost their water and the color of the hydrated salt becomes changed. And they regain their color on addition of water. The silica gel packet found in bag of dried seaweed container, vitamin bottles and in boxes of new suits is a desiccant which make these bags extremely and moisture free. So the silica gel packet that is found in bag of dried seaweed container, the silica gel it is behave as a hygroscopic substance, and vitamin bottle and boxes in new suits is a desiccant present. Silica gel is desiccant present in the boxes of the suits, and due to the presence of the silica they absorb the moisture and our suits becomes dry, so which make these bags extremely and moisture free. Now the aim of this activity is to show the loss of water of crystallization. So material required for this activity are hydrated copper sulfate crystal, boiling tube, spatula, clamp stand, distilled water and a Bunsen burner. So these materials are required for this activity. Now the procedure. First, we take a small amount of the hydrated copper sulfate crystal in a dry boiling tube using a spatula. And then fix the boiling tube on a clamp stand and then heat it. And heat it over the flame of Bunsen burner, first gently and then strongly. Let's see the diagram. So first taken the hydrated copper sulfate crystal in a dry boiling tube by using the spatula, and then fix the tube on a clamp stand and then heated the tube with Bunsen burner first gently and then strongly. Then what is the observation? We observe that on heating, the blue color of copper sulfate crystal changes to white. So blue color of the hydrated copper sulfate solution crystal changes to white because the hydrated copper sulfate changes into anhydrous copper sulfate. Next, also the water droplets are left on the wall of the boiling tubes. So on the wall of the boiling tube, the water droplets left on the inner wall of the boiling tube. Now again, for the procedure of the reverse process, that means by adding the water, and we conclude that finally we observe that and concluded that the color will regain or not. So in the next procedure, remove the boiling tube from the flame and let it cool for some time. The salt left in the boiling tube is the anhydrous copper sulfate salt. And now add the distilled water in the boiling tubes. So after cooling down of the tubes, we get the anhydrous copper sulfates and white color of the anhydrous copper sulfates, and then add the distilled water in the boiling tubes. After adding the distilled water in the boiling tubes, we observe that the white color of the anhydrous copper sulfate changes back to the blue, from white to the blue. So we concluded that the change in the color of the copper sulfate crystal from blue to white indicates that water of crystallization is lost during heating or from hydrated copper sulfates, and the residue that's left is anhydrous copper sulfate, and it becomes white. So the reaction that's happen in this process is, now when copper sulfate dot 5H2O will heated on a Bunsen burner, then 5 molecules of the water, crystal form of the water, becomes vaporized, and this water vapor is kept from the tubes, and the remaining substance is called the anhydrous copper sulfate, 2SO4, and a water vapor is 2O, becomes vaporized and is kept out. So this is all about the water of crystallization and their activities. Okay, thank you. Have a good day.